want me to start?
I do, Jimmy.
Okay, all right.
Kick us off.
So this is my moment to shine, and I blew it already. So I am your co-host and Kate's brother, Jimmy Schultz, and I'm going to announce my co-host, Kate Dillon. Wave your hands so everybody knows who you are, Kate. But I get to announce a very good friend of mine and somebody that I really admire in racing, not for everything that he does, and we're going to be talking about everything that he does, but Benji Hicks. Everybody say hi to Benji.
Well, hi, Benji. Welcome to the
Hi,
show.
Benji.
And this is episode 177, by the way. I didn't give you that information, Jimmy. So.
Oh, okay. Was I supposed to announce that?
Well, I don't know. So if I remember or if I figure it out before the show, then I usually do. But
you think people are out there keeping track?
Well, I mean, it shows up if you're watching on like iTunes and stuff. Yeah. So it does.
All right, awesome. Good. Okay. Yeah. You're 177, Benji.
Well, too bad. Right. 777.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry, we picked you for 155, and we can talk about that. We got some folks joining us, and we'll put some comments up on the screen, and then we'll jump into some questions. And anybody who's watching, if you've got questions, feel free to drop them into the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, wherever. Drop them into the comments, and we'll see them here and can put them up on the screen. But I see our first commenter, of course, is Scott. Hi, all, and happy Monday from Soggy, California. We've had some great weather here in North Carolina. And of course, Benji, you're here in North Carolina too.
It is interesting that it's soggy in California because all I ever hear about is everything burning down out there. So it's probably a good thing that it's soggy, so it's drowning it out, right?
Well, I don't know. I just saw some, one of those fear weather forecasts, like this could be the flood, if the earthquake doesn't happen, then the flood could get them. We don't know.
Oh, okay. We don't want that to happen. I'm sorry.
We have Brandon here says, send it.
Well, you're talking to the right guy, Brandon, because that guy in the middle right there will certainly send it. That's
he works for me.
Okay, there you go. Right there. Talking to the right guy.
Well, spoiler alert, because it says double nickel is the best. Yes.
All right, look at that fan club already showing up.
Yep, and Terry's here from Princeton, West Virginia. Yeah. So Benji, for people who don't know you, tell us a little bit of about kind of who you are, where you live, what do you do?
Well, obviously I'm Benji Hicks, 28 years old. Been in racing my entire life. Both of my uncles raced. My dad's raced. My dad got me started in racing. Me and my brother both in 2005. And we actually started on asphalt, running bandoleros and legend cars at Charlotte and Concord and a few other asphalt tracks here and there. But I actually grew up getting to race against Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott and the Dillon brothers. So I got to race against a lot of cool guys, but my passion was always dirt. It's what I grew up watching Dad race. It's what I always wanted to do. So in 2012, Dad bought a 602 car and put me and my brother in it, and we split time. He got to race one week, I got to race the next, so forth, so on. We alternated, and I fell in love with the whole driving aspect. I always enjoyed working on Dad's car and being a part of it and being hands-on, but I really fell in love with being the driver, and it really benefited me because my brother fell in love with the whole setting the car up and making decisions rather than not so much ignoring what Dad said, but it was more of a brother thing. I got to tell him what I was feeling. He'd make a change, and then the next week when he was driving, it was so forth, so on. So I really enjoyed doing that, and then I left to go to college to play football. Decided that wasn't the route that I wanted to go. Came back home and bought my first car myself and drove for myself for 2 or 3 years before Dad came up to me and he said, if you'll just maintain the car, keep it up, we'll pay the bills, you just drive for us. I said, okay, sounds like a win for me. But in the whole midst of that, I really didn't have an idea of, I knew I wanted to be in the racing world, but I just didn't know of what measures I needed to take. And my mom actually found a college for Psych Tech through Richie Childress Racing. And I went and got a college degree, done that whole deal. Well, I've known them, but Randy Butner, one of my college instructors, he got me hooked up with Dave Dunlap at Longhorn Chassis. And so I got my first job in the racing world working for the top chassis builder in the dirt world at the time. And so that was really cool. And that's really what sparked the whole double nickel, BHR fabrication, the whole 9 yards is what really sparked it all, was getting my foot in the door and getting to do that. And so I worked there for a little over 3 years, and ended up moving to South Carolina, and I got to work for a Dirt Late Model Hall of Famer, Barry Wright, in Cowpens. And I worked for him for a little over a year. Still good as gold to me. I can pick up the phone right now and call Barry with any question that I had. Lance, same way. Anytime I see him at the racetrack, we always talk. And so the relationships that I've built along the way have really helped me in building my business. And I moved back home to Mount Airy, left South Carolina, and I went to Dad one day and I said, "Listen, I want to start my own chassis company. I want to build them from the ground up." I said, "I think I've got enough backing as far as knowledge that this is what I want to do." And he said it was either sink or swim, and knock on wood, we're going on 3 years and we're still swimming. So I love what I do. I'd always been told that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And so I probably work myself to death most of the time. But I don't work. I love what I do. I get to come in, I get to weld, and I get to build chassis and hang bodies. And I've been very fortunate with a lot of followers, a lot of good customers, a lot of good friends, and the relationships that you build along the way. I wouldn't take anything in the world for them.
Awesome. I mean, that's a great story. I mean, and the fact that today's, racing world where, most people just buy everything for a guy to, I mean, that's the way that I grew up, and that's what, my dad did. And we didn't build our own cars, we didn't take the time to do it. We could have done it, but we didn't. So, I give you all take my hat off to you for doing that. And I just think it's awesome. And I root for guys, that, are kind of the underdog, that you're doing your own stuff. And, and it doesn't, just because you're doing your own stuff doesn't mean your car can't be better than everybody else. It just, means you're different. And I think that's super cool.
Absolutely. And then that's, we try and help anybody. I mean, it's not just like, I've always said this since day one. I am a racer for the racer. I'm not looking to make a killing. I'm looking to make a living. And in saying that, like, I'm not as high priced as some of these other guys, and I'm not taking anything away from them. But I'm at that point, and still, ever since I started, I'm at that point where not your every Saturday night racer can go out and spend $60,000-$70,000 on a roller.
Right.
Not that every Saturday racer can say, "I wrecked. I need all these replacement parts." A lot of these guys are going to be like, "Hey, is there anything on my car that I can salvage? Can I straighten this out? Can we make it last another couple of races?" So forth, so on. So I try and be that person. Like, I try and be that mindset where, and I'll even have guys call me when they're getting new cars. I've got this rear end. These are my tube links. I've got this rack. I've got this steering column, et cetera, so forth, so on. What can we use to get a brand new double nickel? And I'm not going to be that person that says, "Oh, you can't transfer this over." I'm going to be like, "Okay, well, you need to change a right rear tube, or you need to change a left rear tube, or your drive shaft's going to be too long. See if you can sell it. And I've probably got a used one I can sell you pretty reasonable." And so, like, I try and be a racer for the racer, because without your Saturday night racers, you're not going to have the money or the sponsors to help your Lucas Oil guys. Lucas Oil is going to go down. You're not going to have the World of Outlaws, the XR, the Float. You're not going to have those guys that we all enjoy watching on TV when we're not at our local every night racing on Saturday nights. And so I try and be that middleman that helps the regional guy keep going.
Yeah, I wish everybody thought the same as you. That would be in a better place, that's for sure. So, are you over there, Kate? You look all fuzzy. It's like are you having a...
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Oh,
We're
I
okay.
do look fuzzy. I was just trying to go over here and kind of do some sharing and checking out the comments here. And we got some comments. I see Chris says hashtag Team Double Nickel, and Brittany's here saying hashtag 55. Of course, that's your number, and you know, I think it kind of lends itself, since your number is 55, why you have double nickel race cars. But you know,
where did the
how did you even
55
end
come
up
from?
with the 55?
Yeah, I was just asked the same question because your dad was 21.
So when I first started Bandoleros, and even into my first years into late model racing, I was 21 or 121. It was destined, because that was always Dad's numbers. And when I bought my first car, my number was 5, and I had this question a lot, like, why'd you change? Your dad was 21, blah blah blah, so forth, so on. And the real backing of the story started in between my freshman and sophomore year in high school. God rest his soul, Donald Price he was our offensive line coach at the high school that I played at. And he set me down in the locker one day during summer workouts, and I'd always wore number 20 in football, and I was a tight end.
Huh.
But yeah, you wouldn't know it now.
Yeah.
But he set me down in the locker one day, and he said, "Do you want to win 5 or 6 games, score some touchdowns, get recognition, get your name called out over the PA, or do you want to win 9 or 10 games and lead our team to a conference championship?" And I said, "I want to lead our team to a conference championship." And he said, "Okay, we're going to have to move you to the line." And so from that day forward, I was moved from tight end to a guard, and my number changed to 55 right then and there. And that was in between the freshman and sophomore year of high school, and that was my number all throughout high school. And then I was a captain my senior year on the football team, and that's what Dad would holler out every Friday night. He'd say, "Get them double nickel, or you got to hit them double nickel," and so it always stuck. And so when I changed the number to 55 on my race car, and then when I started the whole chassis deal, it was just, that was the destined. That was what it was supposed to be, and so it's always been double nickel ever since then.
I think that's an epic
totally
story. I mean, a lot of people, it's just random. It's just the way that, it's like it
Yeah,
was,
I mean,
it
a
was in the
lot
cereal
of people,
box or something.
and I've heard a lot of people and a lot of stories about how they get their numbers, and some of them, their first race car they ever got, this was the number that was on it, so we just stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Dad's, his birthday is the 21st of October, but he's a huge blackjack player, and so blackjack, you gotta you play to beat the dealer, but you obviously want to get 21. So that's how he got his number, and it's always been blackjack racing. His nickname's always been the Gambler. Well, with mine, 55, I've always been known as Double Nickel.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. And I see a couple more comments. Vivian Stanley says the best, and she's watching. And Edward says Arvel Stanley is watching. So I don't know the Stanleys. I take it you probably do.
Grandma and Grandpa.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's wonderful.
There's a whole
You
bunch
do
of
have a great
Hickses.
family.
It's
Yeah.
like Mike Folt told me one time we know Mike, the current owner of 311, sometime promoter. I always liked Mike was because he was so straight up. He told me one time, he said, I said there was he promoted a race, and I asked the question. He says, Jimmy, I really don't care if you come or not anyway, because it's either just you or you and your dad. He says, I really want more people like Tony and Benji Hicks, because they bring like 40 of them to the racetrack. And I was like, you know what? I can't argue with that, because he's getting like $20 from me, and he's getting a lot more from you guys. So
We went and tested one time at 311, and this is when Mike was charging by the car.
oh,
And there's like 10 or 12 cars show up total for this practice session. He's got the track prepped, and he cuts the lights on, so he's pretty invested in this practice session. Only 10 or 12 cars show up. And when we got to laughing, and Dad was like, "Well, hell, 4 of them is us." We had 2 602 cars there and 2 604 cars there at the same night, and 4 of the 12 cars was just the Hicks boys.
that's it. I got to say, I got to race against I got to race against you, TJ, your dad, Noel. I never raced against Billy. He never ran a crate or anything like that. So, yeah.
We got a comment up the screen. Timothy says one of the kindest families I've ever known. I have to agree.
Definitely.
You've got a great family. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We try to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that all starts from your mama.
Yeah.
Your mama's the best. She's the core of the whole thing, the engine that turns it all. So,
right. She keeps it all in line.
That for sure. You can tell she runs a good ship too. So, man, I don't know how this goes back. I don't know how long I've known you guys. It's probably 30 years longer.
Wow.
Yeah. Chris is super excited about running his car, and he's going to be good in your car.
Get him out on the track.
Yeah. He's going to be really good in it. So.
And Chris,
he's got a very favorable driving style for him. That's for sure.
Right. That's for sure.
Yeah, Chris has had some awesome battles with his family dating back to somewhere about 2008.
Yeah, we lost the champion. Dad lost the championship in 2008 to Chris. Dad busted Chris and Dad had battled the points all year long, and it came down to the last race, and I think it was 3 or 4 points separated them. But Dad had busted a rear end cover and came in under caution, and we put rags on the back of the rear end, duct taped them all up, and poured like 2 or 3 quarts of rear end grease in. And every caution that came out, so they wouldn't see the car leaking, he would go way up to the fluff around the outside of the racetrack. And I think Chris, I want to say he ended up second or third that night, and I think Dad was 4th or 5th. So he did. I think we lost by 1 or 2 points, but it came down to the very last race. And if Dad wouldn't have had to come in and pit to get his rear end cover for us to put a diaper on it, pretty much, it probably would have been a little bit closer. But yeah, Chris had a heck of a battle with Dad in 2008 all the way through the points.
Well, speaking of being at the top of the racetrack, I have to say I haven't seen anybody race the top of the racetrack like you. I mean, I'm obviously watching some of the super races that are out there, but my goodness, talk about like going out there to knock the fence down. I mean, it's almost like you try. It's amazing the guts that you bring to the racetrack.
Well, they say you got to push the limit to find the limit. Well, I'm still pushing, and I ain't found it. So, I mean, I've even exited the racetrack one time, upside down. So, but it's kind of comical because Dad, his whole career, he made his whole career of being a bottom feeder. He was always middle to bottom, and we was replacing nose frames about every week, where Dad would scrub the inside wall, or he'd get in there a little too hot and hit the inside wall, and it'd bend the nose frame down. Well, with me, I'm just the opposite. Like, if we put a nose frame on, it's because I've got into the wall with the right rear and it smacked the front up against the outside wall. So I think in between 2017 and 2018 was the best 2 back-to-back years I'd had. And I think we ended up going through like 47 or 48 breakaway spoilers and T-bars that year.
Wow.
I mean, even last year, we're running those new stack quarter panels, and they're great because when they take a hit, they'll pop back out, where sheet metal just holds its shape and it'll get up against your tire. Well, last year we ran those. When we got back from East Bay, we put our first ones on, and I still went through like 16 of those last year.
I can always tell the racers when people call me up and they're like, "Hey, Jimmy, I need to order something. I need to order." Send me like 4 right doors and 12 right rear quarter panels. I get that. That's cool. You get some of the guys that are like, well, I need a couple of left sides. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you're in the way. You need to work on your race car. The rap guy can always tell. So.
Funny enough, I actually need the left side door right now.
That's what I do. That's funny.
Riding around in the road at Screven this past weekend, so I do need the left side door.
All right, I'll put that on my list.
Brandon says he definitely leaves his mark on the wall, and we've got some. We got a couple more comments here. So TJ says, "Top notch people, all 3 of you." Well, thank you, TJ. Appreciate that.
TJ's got him a brand new double nickel breaking out this year.
Oh, does he? Did TJ get one from you? I didn't know that.
Sure did.
That's cool. How about that? You go, TJ.
I'm looking forward to him getting that thing out too.
Yeah, TJ's been good up in those areas up there. So
yeah.
Good deal. And Zach says, are you coming to the Race Logic Hobby Stock class? Yes, I am. I'm flying out on Friday to go to Nebraska. So I'm going to Nebraska this weekend. And I see Tori is here. Seeing hey y'all, our podcast producer right here. And Vivian says, his daddy was a good driver too. So yes, your daddy, Tony, was a good driver for sure. And Spud says, like to get 55 on my side. So Spud Bennett from VP.
You want to get me on some American
Racers?
American Racers. I'm sorry, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, American Racers. Sorry about that, Spud. Slip of the tongue there. Yeah. But
Cool. Well, at least you didn't make the ultimate, gaff there. You just said VP. It's like VP's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why I went with that, but hey. And I see Chris is here saying, "Hey, Jimmy and friends." So,
so Chris Medley owns Modern Images. Does a great job. One of the really great rap people in the business. There's a handful of them that I really respect in the industry that do a great job. I can say that I can say that to about the people that do a good job, because there's no way that any one of us can do everybody. So there's none of us really compete with each other or step out, run each other over or anything like that. But like Chris does a fantastic job. So there's some advertising for you, Chris.
Yeah, he actually made the rugs in my trailer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So he does a lot of things.
Yeah. Cool. But expanding on what you're saying there, man, that's something that we're probably going to get to later anyways with the whole chassis side of it. But there's not one wrap guy that can do everybody's wraps. There's not one chassis company that can do everybody's chassis. And so, I feel like that's a big thing in today's industry, is it's so cutthroat. But there's so many racers that, I'm not saying that you have to buy a double nickel, but you can get a Savage, or you can get or whatever other kind of late model, or any chassis really. But there's so many racers that you need the guys like me and Jason Welsh and Benji Cole, because like I said before, there's not an everyday guy can go out and spend that kind of money to get a Longhorn or an XR1. And I'm not throwing off on them by no means, because obviously they're up front and they're, they've paid their dues also, but they can have their prices that high. But there's so many chassis, there are so many racers that you need the chassis companies like us to get to the racers, such as your local Saturday night racers, or even your regional racers that aren't going to go 2 or 3 hours from home. Just like you need Dirt Rap, you need Chris Medley with Modern Images, or you need Kenny Collins or Big A, or you need those other rap guys. Well, you also need different chassis guys.
And there's a difference between, you're right, exactly the same thing. When it comes to the rap business, the guys that you mentioned, where all of us are equipped it's debatable who has better looking stuff and all that. I think all of us have really nice looking stuff, but it's not debatable that all of us have the capability to keep up with a race team.
Oh,
versus like what the rap people like us don't like are the guys that go buy a printer and put it in grandma's kitchen, and then they go and they do somebody's car for free, and then the guy calls them and can't get a hold of him for 3 weeks when he needs a right rear quarter panel. We're all of us that are in the business, we're equipped to do that and service our customers, because it's not, price is always third on the totem pole. It's when you have the go hold good, fast, and cheap, you can only have 2 of the 3. When you look at the top racers, they're not as concerned about price as they are about service and quality. So when you're talking about mentioning those guys, you throw like Lee Cooper in there, all of you guys are doing great stuff, and you guys are able to service the customers that you have. Like, I would imagine that Benji Hicks can't support 100 racers.
You'd be correct.
But the company, but the one thing, the thing that the chassis builders have to deal with that the wrap guys don't have to deal with is like the wrap guy could have 20 cars out there on the racetrack and probably not be a bad thing. The chassis guy, somebody's got to run 22nd. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just the way it is. One person gets to win, one person runs 5th, and so I don't care what car you're in. If you run 22nd, nobody's happy. You know what I mean? So they're always looking for somewhere else to go. So I'm glad that, that's why I always root, the underdog part of me always roots for the people who are doing things that are different and going out of the box. And when they pull something off, that makes it even that much more special. So, and that's
yeah. And speaking of that, what does make your chassis different than some of the other brands out there?
The two biggest things that I feel like I can
don't
offer,
make him reveal secrets. Kate.
The two biggest things that I feel like I can offer is when you call Double Nickel or you call BHR or you have setup questions or setup help, you don't just talk to an employee. You talk to the guy that builds it and drives it. So 9 times out of 10, what you're feeling, I have felt. 9 times out of 10, what you think that you need to do, I've already done. And so, I can lead you in the wrong direction. I can lead you in the right direction. I can say, hey, this is what I've done to solve that problem for me. Does it work for you? I don't know. But this is what I've done. I have a very open notebook with my customers. I have one-on-one tech support. And like I said, I feel like that is the biggest thing is when you call me and talk about setup stuff, or this is something that I've been wanting to try, is this something that you've done, so forth, so on. And I'm not saying that I know everything or I've done everything. Like a lot of the times I actually learn from my customers also. I've got guys in Georgia that do different adjustments throughout the night for different track conditions down there that up here is either too much or not enough, or it's the complete opposite direction of what we need to go. So I always, jot that down. This is what we need to do in this direction. If we're racing on this kind of dirt, if we're racing in this area or this tire rule, this is what we need to do. But another thing I feel like is huge is going back to it again. And I'm not looking to make a killing. I'm looking to make a living. Is I feel like my prices on my parts and my cars and so forth, so on, is not out of reach for that every night Saturday night racer working 40-hour full-time job a week. I don't feel like my prices for a brand new race car is out of question for them.
Well, don't cut yourself short either. That your cars are really, really nice. I know maybe you can't brag about it and say my cars are really nice. I do a really good job, but I can tell you that your cars are really nice and stack up as well as anybody else's out there. The details and fabric and the craftsmanship is fantastic. So and
we try to do quality over quantity. So
better than it should. I mean, how many times we talked about it? Said, why do these? Does it have to be that nice? It's a race car, right?
Exactly.
So, anyways.
We try anything going out the door is something that we can be proud of. Like, we don't want somebody getting something and being like, oh, this thing's a hunk of junk, or this thing looks terrible. Like, when it rolls out of the shop and it leaves here, we want to be proud of it, and we want the new owners to be proud of it.
What has been your biggest frustration as a single car team chassis builder that you've dealt with? And how are you overcoming it? Or you'll improve?
The biggest frustration right now is really my turnaround time, because I am still that small guy. Like, just for instance, here a month or so ago, I had 4 cars going together at the same time, and the parts deal, and people, they bring me deposits before I get started on it, but those deposits only cover up so far. And so my biggest thing is I'm not that guy, and I'm not that company yet that can just have 4 fuel cells sitting here, or 4 rear ends sitting here, 4 transmissions, or radiators out the wazoo. Like, I'm not that guy that can just have tons and tons of stuff just sitting on the shelf. So I have to plan accordingly. And so the biggest frustration right now is the waiting on the parts to get here, for one, which everybody's battled that at some point in time ever since the COVID deal, I'm sure. But being able to, but being able to get the stuff and to not spread myself too thin to where I've got stuff here to do 4 cars, but oh wait a second, I'm backed up. I can't get payroll done this week, or I've got bills coming up, but I've got all my money invested in parts on the shelf for these 4 cars that aren't going to leave for another week, and that's my biggest frustration. So right now we've got past 3 of the 4 that were sitting here, and so getting everything back on the shelf, not spreading myself too thin, and I told Dad the other day, I said, if I ever, before I get bigger and I'm capable of doing it, I said, if I ever get to the point where I take on 4 jobs at one time, I said, just smack me in the face. I said, I should never want to be able to do more than 2 cars. Like I don't mind building another chassis and having a chassis sitting at the powder coater, but I don't want to have 4 brand new chassis sitting here going together at the same time, because I'm not at that level yet. And so I feel like we can have the parts, accessories, so forth, so on, and the capability of doing 2 brand new cars sitting here side by side at the same time, and be okay doing that. But that's probably the biggest frustration is getting backed up on getting the parts here, and I'm not going to say I don't have the stuff setting on the shelf, but it's stuff that's setting on the shelf that has already been spoke for. And so I want to be able to still go over there and grab it and put it on a new car and not have to worry about a guy calling me 30 minutes later and being like, hey, I need this for this weekend, and me having to take it off of a brand new car to give it to him. I want to be comfortable enough to where I can have the stuff sitting on the shelf and still be assembling the cars at the same time, and not have to be worried about being spread too thin.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge, especially with the price point of how much. I mean, I know how much parts are, so yeah. We don't sell jewelry here, so it's really tough, and they're expensive, and everybody has different lead times, and those lead times are different depending on the time of year. And then you also want to maximize it based on how much it costs you to ship it. So you don't want to get too much, you don't want to just order like 1 radiator if you could get half freight on ordering 2 or 3. So there's a ton to balance and juggle, especially being, like it's trying to have flow. It's really tough, and that obviously it's something I am intimately familiar with and understand.
Oh, absolutely.
What I love now are the attitudes. Like you can have somebody who makes racing parts, which is racing, right? I mean, like everybody knows that you're in the racing business. There is there's a demand, like an instant demand. You got to have it, and here you're gonna order a part, and they're back order, and you're like, when's it gonna be there? 38 weeks.
Exactly.
2025, whatever, and you're like, are you even in business or what?
I need it by this Friday.
It just close down. Like seriously, do us all a favor, I don't know. But I think the question for Benji is, you do all this stuff. I mean, do you sleep?
Very rarely.
Wow. I mean, I don't know if it's I would make that whole comment because I'm old now. I'd be like, I wish I was 28 again. But when I was 28, I didn't do all that either. So wow.
Like we were at Screven this past weekend, and I think we ended up getting loaded up and done with everything, and shutting the trailer door about 1 o'clock Friday night, Saturday morning, and I go lay down, and 6:30 I'm up, and I was up because I forgot to cut my alarm off, but I got up and went and rode around on a 4-wheeler, went to the top of the racetrack and checked things out. And and then proceeded to go through our whole routine Saturday and get all that stuff done and situated. And then Saturday night, when everything was over, we left and drove all the way home and get you a little buddy there.
This is Rue. Yep. Yep. So she's part of the peanut gallery that I have here. So
yeah. But then we get home at 5:30 Sunday morning. By the time I get home, get the kids taken care of and get them in the bed, they're it's 6 o'clock, and in 6 o'clock Sunday morning I'm finally laying down, and then I still don't know what happened, but my little boy got sick and wakes me up throwing up about an hour and a half after I lay down, and so I'm changing bedding, and then go back to sleep for an hour or so, and then my little girl wakes up and she's hungry, so get her some food, and then I'll go back and try and lay down again, and my little boy gets sick again. So Sundays are usually kind of my rest days, chillax, stay around the house, and really don't do a whole lot. But this past Sunday didn't get to do a whole lot of that. I tried to rest and catch up, but you do it long enough, your body just gets used to it, and you just keep on going. Therefore, it's funny now, but in the midst of it, it was kind of serious. There for a while when I was working on Longhorn, it got to the point where like I could feel my heart beating in my chest. It was crazy, and I was sleeping, 14, 16 hours a week.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was living off of Grizzly and drinking 2 or 3 Red Bulls a day, and I'd get off work at Longhorn, drive home, and we'd work on the race car here at the shop till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. You had to be back up at 4:30 going back to work, and sometimes it was just leave the shop and go straight on down there, and you just sleep in the car outside the gate till they came in and unlocked it. But
Wow.
I try to catch up on rest on Sundays. It don't always work, but I try to.
And we got some comments here, and one thing that your mom is pointing out is that you do all of that. He does it all, and he is doing it being a single daddy of a 2- and 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
wow.
That's a lot for sure. And
It
that
is.
your mom super proud of Benji and all the cars that he has built. Looking forward to a great season.
Heck
So
yeah.
there's your mom. Yes.
As she's watching both my kids right now, so they're not running around.
That's funny. That's funny.
Well, and speaking of the kitty, then Vivian says so pretty. So that's Benji's grandma says that your cat's really pretty.
The cat's pretty, yeah.
Yep.
Cat.
And also grandma says that you build them like you're going to drive them.
Yep.
And
well, no, I don't know. You're different than me. I don't know if you're just not thinking about it, or you're just like in the fact that like you can build your cars knowing that you have to fix it, but you drive it that way anyway. That's just, not like me. I don't know if I'm thinking way too far ahead, but I'd be racing and being like, I don't, like I'm already like trying to see if I'm not going to run down in the mud, after the race to go across the scales just because I'm going to have to wash it tomorrow. And I don't want to, I'm not going to do that. So if I'm light, I'm light. So whatever. That's the way I didn't want to do that.
A couple more comments. So Chris Medley said thanks from Modern Image.
Yep.
And Steve Brendel is here from ATC Bolt saying built with the best hardware on the planet. # Team ATC, and thank you for all your support.
Yeah, appreciate it, Steve.
So these are all the connections that we built with the Cars Racing Show.
Yes. That's actually where I met Steve the first time.
Yeah. I mean, the people that are involved with the Cars Racing Show, I mean, that's the gift that keeps on giving. That's the part that like we love we love the stories of the people that just people ask all the time, like what do I get if I go to the Cars Racing Show? It's like the question is, what don't you get? It's like just the one random connection, the one random idea that somebody might have told you in a hallway, or just a person that you met, or a part that you saw that inspired something else, or you might have got a deal on something that you haven't been. But all those little things add up over the course of a racing career, and you're like, wow, how did I get here? And it's just the cars, and that's trade shows in general, but around here, that comes from us, from the Cars Racing Show.
Absolutely. And y'all do
I mean,
and that was the first place that I met Steve was there, and I had talked to Neil with Hooker at PRI, but I got to be more one-on-one and more involved and talk to him more person to person rather than him trying to entertain 7 or 8 of us at the same time. And I've met a lot of great people at PRI. I've met a lot of great people at the car show, and like you said, it's those meetings that you have with them at the show turns into not only business opportunities but a lifelong friendship. For instance, Pat Fagan with Fast Shafts, me and him been great friends for a long time, and our booths actually lined up where we was back to back this past year at the car show, and I've talked to him several years, and then I got to obviously talk to Neil again this year, and Jason Groves with Dayton. It's all those relationships that you build along the way that really help our racing program, but also turns into a great relationship where, like the friendships deal, your racing family keeps expanding with going and talking to these people.
Yeah, I think to me it's like that. It's the solidification of the personal relationship and how where this is all a people business anyway, but the personal relationship, how it bolsters the business and professional relationship, and how it's all so intertwined.
Yeah.
So, and I think the people that understand that are the ones that are the most successful in this business. And
the racetrack, the racetrack is great, but you're not in that same frame of mind when you're at the racetrack.
That's right.
So you don't really, you can be like, okay, yeah, all right, you've got a new something, and oh, it's great to meet you. Okay, great, yeah, we'll catch up on Monday. But you're just not in the same place because you're thinking about racing, and there's a lot of stimulation in that environment, obviously, being at a race. But when you can have that focus of, oh, well, this is about business. We're at a trade show, so now we're focusing on business, and it really it's kind of like the right thing at the right time in the right place.
Absolutely.
Well, now that you have been an exhibitor with double nickel race cars for 2 years at the car show, have you seen some success with selling cars or parts or customers or client relationships or anything like that?
I've this past year was better for double nickel than the year before. Obviously, we hand out a lot of price sheets, get our name out there the best we can, so forth, so on. But believe it or not, my biggest seller at the trade shows every year since I've done it the first year has been the chassis dollies.
The dollies.
Like something so simple like blows up there, and I mean, I understand it because they are very, very, very convenient. I think I've got 6 or 7 sets here that stay in the shop, but that's the biggest thing is it's not necessarily just the chassis side of it, but a lot of these people, they see that we can build the nose frames or we build the T-bars or the rear bumpers, so forth, so on, and then we build the chassis dollies and we offer tech support for any kind of car. I mean, I'm not saying that I know everything about all of them, but at the end of the day, they're all still just tube and welded together. And so when people find out that we do all of that also, not along with just building just the chassis or just the double nickel race cars, then that's what kind of, I feel like, draws them into the door to start paying more attention to what all we offer. I mean, just for instance, like CrateInsider, with the name, everybody thinks that you deal with strictly just crate stuff. Well, then you get them in the door of looking for stuff, and then they're like, oh, you carry body panels, you carry nose skins, you carry rockers, and you carry grease and bearings for anything. It's not just, you don't just go to CrateInsider just to buy a crate motor. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's multiple things that are evolving inside of CrateInsider, just like double nickel race cars. It draws them into the whole BHR side of it, and we do lots of custom stuff. The very first year that I done the show, that the remote control car was a huge hit. I sold a ton of 50/50 tickets for it. Ended up giving it away. Then the second year I done it again, and it was a huge hit. And sold probably 10 or 12 of those of people that bought a 50-50 ticket that didn't win it at the show that still wanted one. And so they reached out to the BHR page and message and, hey, how much can I get one of these for my kid? So forth, so on. Those things are awesome. And so it's not just the chassis side of it, but it's also the other opportunities that we offer. And once we get them in the door, then the chassis deal kind of takes care of itself, whether they want one or not, or they want to bring it to me to get set up, or so forth, so on. It's more of just getting my foot in the door, or my name in their mind, and they start looking and paying attention is what I feel like is the biggest thing for me.
I know me as a racer.
Dollies have amazing wheels on them. That's the thing that really caught my eye, because I do live a life where I believe everything should have wheels on it, so I could just rearrange my furniture all the time if I wanted. Like everything should have wheels on it, and so I definitely take a good look at, like, wow, those are some nice wheels.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, everything in my shop is like, we've got three roll around carts. I've got a quote unquote chassis dolly that we built that I now use as a rear end holder. So I use it as a rear end stand, and I've got a plate that actually mounts up to the drive shaft yoke, and it holds the rear end level. So I can 100% completely assemble a rear end on a stand and be able to roll it around and then roll it over to the car, rather than us killing our backs and having to pick it up and carry it everywhere we go. And I've got a 5x12 sheet metal table that's got racks on it to store sheet metal. It's on wheels. We can move it around. I've got 2 sheet metal brakes here. Both of them are on wheels, so we can, when we're not building bodies, roll them out of the way, and you ain't got to worry about them being out in the middle of the floor. So we try and do that with everything, not just the chassis dollies, but it is very convenient. We've got a 2-post lift outside, and then you have to roll it across the concrete pad to get into my personal shop, and 2 guys wash the car, put it on dollies, roll it in there, and don't have to put a wheel or tire on it. I mean, that's very convenient. And they do roll easy. You can one person can move the car by himself.
I was getting ready to ask. I always think that's a big deal. Like, I mean, like if one person can push a car. I've had, the car, my dirty white boy stuff was such that, like, I mean, you guys, all of you guys that race with me saw me, go to the races by myself and push it around the whatever by myself. But I had other cars where it took like a lot of people to help push it around. It's like all bound up or whatever. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Or it's like you had to have the steering. You could push it by yourself as long as you went in a circle, or whatever. But when you hold the steering wheel straight, it was like, you know what I mean? So.
And then, like, another great thing, even now, pushing it around by yourself, even if it is on the ground. When Grant and them came out with that steering buddy, that was huge. And I mean, you used to, like you're talking about, you was fine if you could push it around the circle. Well, the front end settings we're running now, with the caster and camber and everything, it wants to turn left. Right. It wants to go in a circle. It's what we've set it up to do. But when Grant and them came out with that steering buddy, and they've got the brake in there to hold it in position, that was a game changer there. I mean, now, I've seen them do it. Guys take their car to tech, and it just be one person. They'll have a ratchet strap around the rear bumper to the four wheeler, and they can push it and pull it, and then hold the steering buddy out here and drive the car to tech by themselves. And I feel like that was a game changer in the whole industry.
Yeah, that's identifying a problem and providing a solution. It's one of those where you're like, what guys that are like, why didn't I think of that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, just to get a car even back into the trailer, and like the long steering wheel and all of that. So yeah, the steering buddy.
And the spoiler all to pieces by the time you get to the track if you forget to put a bungee cord on it.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. A couple more questions. Oh, I see Dylan Brown is here. He says first class guy with a first class operation. That's a lot. I mean, yeah, Dylan's a really good guy.
He is.
I see Shane is saying, hey, Kate, where are you going to be in Nebraska? I will be in Grand Island is where I will be. Grand Island, Nebraska. I hear it's supposed to be nice there this weekend.
In Nebraska? It's Nebraska we're talking about.
I know it was 30 below last time I was there.
I love talking about Nebraska. I always seem to run into Nebraska people wherever I go.
Oh, yeah. There's some hardcore racers in Nebraska for sure.
Well, there's some hardcore. There's some hardcore sport of fans too. Because
they
absolutely.
Don't have.
I mean, they're like Iowa. They don't have a pro team. They just have the Huskers. And so they've been pretty bad for a long time now. So like they keep living off of their legacy. So hopefully a Nebraska fan will chime in with something. Wasn't it just a few weeks ago where we had one that was want to talk about women's volleyball? Remember that? That was fun. That was fun. That was fun. Maybe we can have him back on and we can talk about sports. I do like debating. I'm not one of them that likes to just
Well, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Man, okay. I said at the beginning that there was really two teams that I really did not like. And there was a third that I really didn't want to see in the Super Bowl. The two teams I do not like are the Chiefs and the Eagles. And the third one that I did not want to see in there was the Niners. So I was, the Lions and the Ravens would have been good. Really, I like the Bills. They would have been good. But in this case, you're talking about the Niners and the Chiefs. I hope the Niners win because I just can't take I'm not even going to watch it. I mean, I like Taylor Swift and everything, but not when I'm watching the Super Bowl. And it's like just the blatant pandering they are doing to her. It's like, don't tell me that that's not in play when they're making these calls on the field. They're saying we got to get Taylor in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's the case. Like that's going to be good for ratings. Well,
look what she did for the economy of these different areas where she took her tour. I was never like a big Taylor Swift fan, but like what she just did with that concert tour and how she like changed the economies of the areas that she went.
I mean, she's awesome. She is awesome. But
it's not her fault. Yeah.
I know, but I just it's my disdain for whiners. I just don't like whiners. And
I agree.
Patrick Mahomes is just a whiner. That's all he does is whine. And I just can't. I just hate it. I just just take it. I think that's my biggest lesson to racers. If you're gonna race, don't whine. Get in front of when they put the microphone in your face, just don't whine. Just take it and say, and then do something about it next time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dad said there's actually a bet that you can place in Vegas that if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, if Travis proposes or not.
Oh wow. Wow, that's crazy. I thought I heard about a bet. There was like how many, like the over under on like a minute and 15 seconds on how much airtime Taylor Swift is going to get. It was like 43 seconds or something in the AFC Championship game. So I don't know.
Well, funny enough, I actually know more about the commercials that are going to be part of the Super Bowl than who was playing in it. So
does CrateInsider have a commercial?
Is who?
CrateInsider.
No, not this time. Not this time.
You're working on that.
Yeah, we missed the deadline.
What's your favorite Super Bowl commercial?
Mine?
Yep. What about you, Kate? Either one of you.
Okay, anything with the Clydesdales. Because
they're good.
Yeah,
they're good.
And I know I saw because I watch a lot of YouTube, so there was a YouTube clip from Good Morning America. I don't really watch like that kind of TV, but there was a clip talking about how the Clydesdales are going to have a commercial this year.
Oh, that's cool.
Clydesdales, I mean, it just brings me back to being a kid and like being at the racetrack. And, there were times because NASCAR, when we were kids, NASCAR was actually involved in all the dirt track stuff when you and I were growing up. So it really attracted, like lots of other things other than, maybe what we see today at a weekly racing kind of thing. And I remember seeing the Clydesdales. I don't know if it was at a racetrack or just something involved with racing, but maybe it was at a fairgrounds or something because we had a lot of those fairgrounds. Do you remember like where we would have seen the Clydesdales? But I know I've seen them in person.
Wasn't it one of those races in Missouri? It was like, I don't know if it was at the races, but It was,
or if there was,
I don't know.
yeah, it could have been like there was a race that was going on at the same time as like a fair of some
I just
kind.
remember the Clydesdale's a really big horse. That's a big
They're
animal.
huge.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I mean, just like super majestic, like
They are.
so amazing. And so for me, that really pulled. And they always make them like super. They're always going to make you cry,
Right.
always. But
good job. Yeah, I like the Clydesdales.
But I appreciate them.
What about you, Benji?
My favorite Super Bowl commercial is usually anything with the Doritos.
Yeah, so you're like Tina. So my wife Tina, she likes the one where it's like the dude with the chip, where he's like waving it with the kid inside, and then he runs. That's a really good one.
Oh, and Steve says the Doritos
commercials. Yeah, they're good.
What was the one where it was like baby monkey puppy or whatever?
Oh, I don't remember. That was stupid. My favorite was do you remember the Reebok commercial with Terry Tate, the office linebacker?
Yes. Well,
he's my favorite. That's so good. You have to go back and look that up. That's like so good. Where the dude in the office building hires like a retired linebacker to like improve productivity in the office place, and it's so good. Like, it's so good. Go back and watch it.
These are like 10 years old at this point or something, because even longer than that.
Probably 20. Yeah.
It's a long time ago. I worked at an architectural firm, and there was a guy there. His name was Terry. But the company was Tate and Associates, so it was just kind of funny. It kind of came up, and so he was the one that showed them to me at first. And so I've definitely shown Terry Tate office linebacker things to many people over the years.
That's right. That's
from YouTube. Hilarious. Hilarious. It's really, really good. Oh, let's see. Brandon says the best commercial in the Super Bowl was with the squirrels.
That's a broad range.
It's like,
yeah, I don't know. We got a couple people weighing in on who's going to win the Super Bowl, though. So Chris says it's going to be the Niners.
I hope
and
so.
Edward says it's the Niners. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's going to be the Chiefs because of everything you said.
Huh? What?
I think it'll be the Chiefs because of what you said about Taylor Swift. I'm just saying it will be. Just hey, I'm not saying I want it to be. I'm just asked who you think's going to win. It's going to be
better. All right, who's the better tight end, Travis Kelce or George Kittle?
Okay, well, I will tell you that I haven't watched NFL football since they started kneeling for the national anthem. Reality. So it's just amazing that I even know who's in the Super Bowl this year.
All right. Yeah. What do you say, Benji? Who's the better tight end?
Number for number, I guess Kelce is.
I'd never even heard of the other guy, and I actually heard about Travis Kelce before he was with Taylor. Yeah,
George Kittle's a Hawkeye.
Oh,
tight end, you baby. Anyways, well, enough about football. It's a racing podcast. It's not a Football Insiders podcast.
No, but last year wasn't the Super Bowl like both the Kelce brothers were up against each other?
Yeah.
Last year, that's how I first heard of
now
the Kelce.
Sexiest man on the earth or on the planet or whatever.
Yeah.
They do have a good podcast.
They do.
Yeah, it's a good.
Me and Brian get here at 8:00 in the morning. Is what time usually we're around by the time we get our kids dropped off and stuff. And usually Brian will have it turned on, and that's what we listen to for the first hour or so that we're here. Is the Kelce Brothers podcast? What is it? 92%ers or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. But I do have some breaking news that I hope everybody stayed on to listen to. We have put a 21 race schedule together this year with Ryan Newman, the former Daytona 500 winner, Brickyard 400 winner. Looking forward to teaming up with him and getting him in a dirt car. And his first race is actually supposed to be at Ultimate Motorsports Park, February the 24th. The XR Super Series is going to be his debut. So if there's anybody on here listening and watching that wants to be a part of that and be a sponsor for Ryan Newman, we would greatly appreciate talking to you, and even for the right situation, we can do a one-on-one meeting or 2-on-1. Me and Ryan will meet with you, or however we want to do it, or y'all want to do it there. But I feel like that's a big opportunity and can be a game changer for BHR and Double Nickel, is to get somebody with his name and his reputation, and getting him running good and up front. And I feel like that'll draw a lot of attention also.
That's great. All right, everybody get their checkbooks out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Congratulations on that.
Yes.
And on that teaming up there. There's a lot of great can come from that for sure.
Absolutely.
As the asphalt guys go, I'd say that Ryan is probably at the top of the list as far as like not letting anything hang back. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I'd say that he
did just win the XRX Series championship last year also.
Yeah. So he's got a lot of talent. He's a no-nonsense guy too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
awesome.
Super
Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Yes. And well, we got some last comments. We're coming up on an hour here. And so our last comments here say, Edward's here, super proud of my grandson for what he's accomplished in such a short time, and his crew, and well-deserved recognition for his hard work. So that's awesome.
Thanks,
and Jimmy Mack here, he agrees. He said, Edward Stanley, yes, sir. He works his tail off and is willing to help most anyone. And your grandma Vivian is clapping her hands. And so MPM Marketing is here clapping her hands. That's cool. And let's see here. John is here. I'm 20. My birthday
Happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday, John.
Welcome to the show. And Jim Long, what's up, party peoples? He says. And our buddy Neil McPhillips from Hooker Harness, what's up? He says. And Brandon says that you are the best boss that anyone could have. So some glowing comments for you, Benji.
Well, I try to be a good person.
Hey, Kate, this is podcast number 177. Has either of your employees ever chimed in and said that you're the best boss they've ever had?
They got me a cup.
They did get you a cup. That's got to be. I mean, that's.
Or Tori,
that says a lot
Tori
right there.
Gave me a cup. You're like,
okay. You watch. Tori's gonna chime in now. She's gonna be like. You know.
Yeah, I'm feeling. I'm feeling a little lonely right now.
A little lonely.
And, yeah, great. Jim says, "Proud of you, Benji." Everybody's proud of you, Benji.
Well,
so what about you? How many races are you going to run this year? And what races are you going to run? What series?
Mostly super stuff. I do plan on running the entire Schaefer's deal during the summer. I think it's 12 races in 16 days or something like that. I try not to run for points. I've done that one year, and it about kills you. It's not so much the traveling. It's more of like I want to go and win races. I don't want to care about the points. And we went to some races where there might have been a hole that was questionable. Do you feel it? Do you not? Do you pull the slider? Do you drive it on in there? Or do you finish third or fourth and take a good points night and go on to the next one? And then also, not only do you have to have that mindset as a driver, but at the same time, we'd pass 2 or 3 $10,000 to win races to go run a $5,000 to win race 6 hours from home, and the only reason we have to go is for the points. And so I try not to points race, but I am, as Lord willing and everything goes right, I do plan on running the whole Schaefer's deal and trying to win that championship this summer. But we're going to run that, and then we got a few hunt the front races on schedule, XR races with Barry and them. Obviously some Lucas and World of Outlaw races. World of Outlaws comes right here in my backyard to Ultimate in May. So looking forward to that and seeing where we stack up this close to home against some of the best competition there is out there. And then we're still going to run several crate races. Obviously we're signed up for that 100,000 at the end of the year at Golden Isles. Then we just signed up for the 602 race, the 50,000 to win 602 race right there at Ultimate Motorsports Park. And we're going to run a few of the American All-Star Series with Joseph Rush and them guys. We're going to run some of them races this year. But probably going to focus more on our super stuff. as we have in the last 2 or 3 years. But I'm not going to just cancel the crate stuff altogether. So we're spread out still, and just run when we want to run and go have fun doing it.
Good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out Ultimate Motorsports Park, and seeing what they've done. And, I think they're doing some good things. And I know, Jimmy, you've been involved with some of the signage there. And it's always great to see a lot of refurbishment and new things happening at a racetrack.
It's always good to see somebody that brings in energy and funding and whatever into racing, and he's really making an effort to make it a like a venue, a real venue over there.
He is, and he's doing a tremendous job. We went over there and did 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but we tested on a Thursday, and it was actually the first time that Ryan had got to make some laps in one of my cars. But and you can't really base off of what we had that day. As cold as it's been this winter, and then with all the work they've done, with ripping up the pavement, putting dirt down, changing the banking, changing the layout of the racetrack, so forth, so on. Everything looked absolutely tremendous, with painting, and it's just the small details, like you said, turning it into like a true venue, like a crown jewel facility almost. But they've done a tremendous job, Bobby and Jordan and Jessica and Evan and the whole Ultimate crew over there. They've done a great job, and Jason Smoot, Bill Link, everybody involved over there. And kudos to them, because, and I've said time and time again, even in this podcast, that I feel like I'm going to be that guy for the regional racer or the local Saturday night racer. Well, Bobby Kohler's that guy also, because without Ultimate Motorsports Park being open, we was traveling 2 hours for a local race, and so kudos to him for opening it back up. I think it's they keep the doors open and keep that thing going. And I think build it, they'll come kind of deal. So I think it'll be awesome.
You look at like where kind of I'm at. I mean, without Ultimate, there's no racetrack between Gaffney and Beckley.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. And so now you're going to get called out a little bit, Benji, because it looks like a moment of truth is happening, because your dad's here and he says, "Don't let him fool you." He made a schedule and laid it on me. It had almost 70 races on it.
I did give him a schedule, but it had 84 races on it.
No, he told you to get the red pen out.
Well, I told him, I got a schedule for race season, and it's the first time I've ever laid out a schedule. Usually, like we'll look at the schedule on Dirt and see what races are coming up, and we'll kind of base the next few weeks out. But we've never been months in advance, and so I did. I actually went through and I printed out all the schedules and went through all of it, and I wrote the dates down on this big calendar that I got hanging on the wall over here, and I told him, I was like, "There's 84 races on the schedule," and he looked at me and he said, "Well, we might get to run 40 of them." So, but I say we're going to get to run more than that. I'd say we get to run more than 40. I don't know if we'll get to run all 84, but last year I think we ran 59 or 60 or something like that. At least that's what my race pass says on my website there. But yeah, I had to give a huge shout out to Dad, even though he likes to pick on me every now and then like that. He is my racing hero. He's been with me through thick and thin. Him and Mom both. When I went out there and won, they're the first one to congratulate me and greet me crying, whether I won a Saturday night 602 race for $600 or I won a $7,500 win super race at Livonia, Georgia. I mean, they've always been there for me, and I can't thank them enough. So. But at the same time, Dad is the first one to tell me when I screw up too.
That's funny.
We was at Fayetteville one night for a 10,000 to win Ultimate race, and I think I was running third. I think Zach Mitchell was leading, Ben Watkins was second, and I was third. And we had a restart, and I tried the top, of course, and I rode the top for 4 or 5 laps, and I finally got back in line like 7th, and I think we ended up finishing 5th that night. And I got out of the car and first words out of Dad's mouth was, "Well, how long did it take you to figure out that the bottom had rubbered up and you needed to get off the top?" I'm like, well, I feel like I got the 7th, I guess.
Don't know till you do it.
Oh, I see. Oh, we got another comment here. And Jim says, a couple of Steel Block Bandit shows out of 84 isn't too much to ask.
That's right.
Well,
You gotta
Jim,
put
I'd
Block
love
Bandit
to.
races on your schedule there.
All right, Benji. This is
That's
like
the motor that I don't have, though.
so when we get these drivers on, Kate, we need to ask them like some of them like the same exact questions. Like one of them is like, how'd you get your number, and stuff like that. But so like maybe one of them is like, what is your most memorable win?
My first super win ever. It was
Where,
my dad and my brother put the race on. They teamed up with Ultimate and Fast Track, and actually rented the track at 311, and they put the race on. And my dad had always said that he wanted to do a Bill Hicks Memorial race at 311, and that's where my grandpa Bill passed away at. He had a massive heart attack in 1991, I believe, and he died in the grandstands there. And my dad always said that if the right opportunity ever presented itself, that he wanted to put the Bill Hicks Memorial on at 311. Well, he done it one year, and it was the fast track, the first leg of the fast track Triple Crown. And I think Steve Blackburn won it, and I think I ran third or something that night. And then the next year he done it was the first year that he had done it involving the supers. And we were down a motor, had hurt our only super motor at the time, and didn't know if we was going to run it. We ended up getting a motor from Clint Boyer Racing, and went down there and picked it up on a Wednesday. Came back home. My uncle came over here. Me and my brother-in-law Brian, my crew chief, and my brother TJ and my uncle Mark put that motor in and fired it up on Thursday. Went to the racetrack on Friday, qualified third, and took the lead right before halfway and straightawayed them. And it was my first ever super win, and it was the Bill Hicks Memorial, with the first time with the supers being there.
I bet that was special. Yeah,
It was.
awesome.
It was a lot of tears, a lot of hugging, and a lot of high fives and hell yes in victory lane.
That's incredible, especially since that race already meant so much in the first place, and then for that to be your first win, how fitting.
Oh, absolutely. Dad said that. I mean, this was obviously later in the moment. He was all teared up and hugging and happy, and we were all high fiving, like I said, and everybody was just ecstatic because not only did we win, we won the first ever super race for me, and then it being the Bill Hicks Memorial on top of it. But Dad was picking on me later. He was like, "Yeah, you just saved me $5,000. Thank you." Pay the purses. So it was like money back to him.
About that. Kind of sounds like the NFL, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying this weekend.
Well, let people know. And do you have any final questions, Jimmy? Otherwise, we should wrap it up since we're already over an hour. I know.
Okay. So one last question.
Okay.
When was the last time you got out of the car and said you're going to quit? It's the last time I'm racing.
Swainsboro, Georgia, last year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought that I had lost it. I couldn't drive anymore. I was terrible. And I mean, this might sound bad, but I mean, it's the truth. It's 100% my fault. It's not like I didn't have the opportunity, but I had wrecked really bad a couple weeks earlier at Livonia. Throttle hung, hit the wall wide open. Put all new suspension on it. Came home and worked on the car. Thought it was straight. Didn't really think nothing about it. Put a caster camber gauge on it, set the toe, and went and ran the rest of the weekend. Then we go to Swainsboro, and when I say we swung for the fences, I'm talking like we made dramatic changes, and I'm talking like moving shear plates forwards, rolling bars forwards, moving left rear back, so forth, so on. Anything we can do, anything we can think of, can't get this thing in the racetrack. And I think it was the 604s was like 7/10 faster than me, and which that place gets slick anyways. And so we were killing power, small carburetor restrictors, unhooking the back pump, whole 9 yards. and come home, strip the car completely down. I got out that night and I was like, I'm done. I quit. Like I can't drive anymore. And came home, stripped the car completely down, and as we were taking decking out of it, I had hit the wall so hard that it actually had bananaed the center section of the car. And so I was battling a bent chassis, and then we put an all new car together and go to the World Finals, and I about passed Tim McCready. And I mean, granted, it was a B main, but still, anytime you can run with guys like that, I feel like it's an accomplishment for a small guy like me, like an underdog. But I about passed Tim McCready for a B main, made the feature at the World Finals, and then we go on to Lancaster, run fourth, and then we go to the Blue Gray, and ran fourth there. And so I was like, okay, we got a little confidence boost. We're good to go. So we built another all brand new car during the off season. So I've got a car that's got 3 races on it, and I got a car that's got 2 races on it now after this past weekend. So I feel like we've got the issue with a bent car out of the way. We got fresh equipment on it, and got us a fresh set of Bilstein shocks ready to go, and look forward to a 2024 season with lots of wins.
Perseverance right there. Yeah. Keep coming back.
That's right.
That's a great question. And the way you say that, Jimmy, obviously, it's something that every racer goes through.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like me.
I'm done. I'm done.
That was me every time I went to Elkin. And I'll tell you how bad it was at Elkin. When it was like, we went there, it was like, I don't know, Luke was like 5 or 6. And then he comes up to me and at the end of the night, and he was like, Dad, I just don't think you need to come here no more. So he just fixed my racing program right there.
Well, I have tracks. I have tracks that I've been to that I'm like, okay, well, I probably don't need to come here again.
That's right.
Or I should just quit. One or the other. I've definitely got tracks like that.
But I think that's everybody. I mean, you look at the top tour guys. There are some guys that we know really well that are just like not. I mean, you think about it. What if the World 100 was at Screven? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of guys that win a lot of races that aren't any good at Eldora or Knoxville or anything like that. You got guys that, the really, really good guys are the ones that can adapt to all conditions and run top, bottom, middle, and they can run when it's fast, run when it's slow, when it's rubber. And it just takes, it just takes so many laps and years of experience and all that stuff. And, to get there and the talent, on top of that. But
and Dad's fueled my fire. You mentioned Eldora there. He, I've been twice. I went for the World and I went for the Dream. Made a prelim at the World. Was one spot out of transferring into the feature for the World. Went to the Dream and ran like a bag of crap. But Dad fueled my fire. He was joking, but the way he said it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to prove him wrong, and that's what I need every now and then. I need that little push to really just. It don't piss me off, but it pisses me off, kind of deal.
Right.
And we was at supper talking about the schedule, and we was at supper one night talking about the schedule that I gave them, and I told them that we're going to miss the Dream this year, regardless. We have a family vacation that's been pre-scheduled for a year. We're going to go and have a good time at the beach, and I'm sure we'll be watching it. But I said something about going to the World, and he's like, "Oh no, we're not going to Eldora. We don't belong there." And he was jokingly saying it, but he's really pissed me off to make me that much better there. And Eldora's a hard place to get a hold of. I mean, I'm still good friends with a lot of these big name drivers through the Longhorn and through the Barry Wright deal. But I talked to Jonathan Davenport about it, and he's like, it's a hard place to get a hold of. You feel like you need to turn and get the car bent, but you need to hold it straight and be turning left. He's like, you got to keep the rear tires under you. Just don't spin the tires. And the slick at Eldora is not like a slick anywhere else that I've ever been. And so we haven't got a grasp on it yet, but we will go back, whether Dad says that he's going or not. we will be there, and that little bit of the we don't belong was just to add fuel to the fire. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it under control. I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna make a race there, whether it be another prelim or make a big one. I'm going to at some point in time in my career.
Yeah, but I mean, it just you got to cut your teeth. I mean, you look at Jonathan. I mean, he's the best at Eldora now, and has been for a long time. But he didn't start off that way. You know, it took him going up there and cutting his teeth too. And the people that don't understand it, that haven't been up there, like the one time I got to race on it, when you're like, 30, 40 laps into the race, and you're looking, and wow, there's brown on the bottom, then there's this black that's just slick as can be, and you get in that, you're like, it's like ice. Then there's like 6 foot wide of brown, which you could be wide open through. Then it's black again, which is nothing. Then there's all this rough stuff at the top. Then this wall that's staring at you in the face, and it's like, you kind of have to contemplate, how am I going to attack this? And it takes both patience and aggressiveness in order to get around there.
Oh yeah, and you drove Eldora, so you know what I'm about to say, or what I'm trying to get to. But like the dirt is so different there. Like you're talking about, it can be brown, black, brown, and then so forth, so on. But like I told them, I believe it was at the World this past year, that you drive into one wide open. If you commit to run the top, you drive into one wide open and hold the steering wheel straight, and there's a little knoll going into one that will turn your car for you, and you just have to have a set on you, I guess you could say, to just hold it to the floor and do that. And and after driving it and experiencing it and seeing it, and then watching people like Bobby Pierce and JD and Tyler Erb, and the guys that are wall bankers get up there and do it for 50 laps, it gives you a whole new respect for their driving style. Because I think I done it for 12, and on lap 13 of a heat race, I smacked the wall. So I mean, them guys to do it for 50 laps like that, it's incredible. Because you get to see it in person.
I think that, Jonathan kind of is the one that kind of changed all that and got that going, because I think it was Bloomquist that said that there's no way that a guy can run 100 laps up there and win a race, and then Jonathan did it.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, it was like, wow, it can be done. It kind of like broke the seal. Bobby Pierce did it, and Hudson O'Neal's done it, and and these kids, some of these guys now are just fearless up there, and and they're really, really good, and
it gives you a whole new respect for their driving.
Yep. Oh, I think we lost Benji.
Well, we need to find out, how do people get a hold of Benji? It still says he's here. I don't know if we just lost his picture. Can you hear us, Benji? Yeah. I don't know if we lost him. Oh, I'm trying to see. But that was really interesting. I haven't heard you talk about Eldora and those specifics before there, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got done with that race, and after, I think it was a 50 lap race, and I was like, wow. I mean, I ran good and everything, but it was like, this is going to take a lot of time to get good here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it changed the whole thing in the fact that, wow, I don't know if it was so different that you could almost run your own race, versus a lot of what we have down here. We can run, what's talking about, she's asking about Eldora, and I said for me, what the eye opener was that down here we're so used to running to where there's one groove, and this is how you got to win the race in this groove. And if you're going to pass people, you have to take that groove away somehow. You have to move them out of the way, or they have to make a mistake or whatever. But a race like Eldora, you can be good enough at Eldora in your own groove that you don't even have to race anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like you look at McDowell now. I mean, he races his own race. Doesn't have to worry about somebody in his way. I mean, I'm sure there's people in his way here and there, but not so, but for the most part, he can just worry about getting his car good in a certain groove and be like, I can really start anywhere and have a chance to win this race. And
100%.
And so that's just the difference in the dirt and the preparation. The dirt, really the dirt.
Well, I mean, look at when T-Mac won the World.
Mm-hmm.
10 laps to go, nobody thought that anybody was going to catch up with JD, and then here McCready comes floating right around the bottom, and not even close to the groove that JD was running, and he sneaks in there and wins the World.
Yeah, And not even, I mean, and when you're leading, you're like a sitting duck because you don't know where everybody else is running at. And so I just don't, I had the like when 3 and 4 where, they had the cushion around 3 and 4. It was super slick from the bottom all the way across. There wasn't even the streak of brown in the middle of 3 and 4, and I missed the bottom once. And I swear to God, I was going 10 miles an hour in the center of the racetrack, waiting. Yep. I was just, there's nothing you could do, just keeping your car straight, and you're like, I am getting ready to get ran over by 20 cars. You know what I mean? And then they don't pass you. It's just like, wow. It's like, you know, it's everybody struggling. You know what I mean? So
that was the craziest thing to me too. Is the way that 3 and 4 is shaped and the way that you have to enter where everybody pulls across the racetrack, like you have to deal with that hump there.
Yeah.
Well, you drive straight across that hump in the gas, and then when you land on the other side of that hump, you better be floating off the gas and get to the top because you are not going to make any ground through the middle.
Right through the middle, you're done. Yeah, that's so keep it up. You have the right stuff, the right driving, style, the talent, everything in order to be good up there. You just got to keep going. And I know that your mom and dad support you 100%. They're just trying to light the fire underneath you. So
that's right. And every now and then, that's what I need.
That's right. You got 2 cars. What the hell, right?
2 cars and plenty of sheet metal.
That's right. That's right. You got a wrap guy that'll keep supplying you, so you don't have to worry about it.
Well, and I just have one last question. If people want to get a hold of you, whether it's to sponsor your Ryan Newman deal or to get a double nickel chassis, how do people get a hold of you?
BHR Fabrication on Facebook, or you can message the Benji Hicks Racing page. I get both of those. You can visit the website, doublenickelracecars.com. Ben Shelton, MSR Mafia, they do a great job running that for me. Nothing against you, Kate. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Or I mean, I'm no secretive. You can 336-755-7033. That's the number to Double Nickel Race Cars and BHR Fabrication. You just reach out, and if you can't get a hold of me, shoot a text, and I will reach back as quick as I can. But yeah, if you message the Facebook page, my sister runs it for me. She does a great job on it. I'm not big on the Facebook Messenger. I'm really bad about checking it or seeing that I've got a message and not reading it. But she makes sure, and she does all she does all that for me. And I'm a lot better with the text message deal. So she screenshots it and sends me a text of it, and either I give her a response or I'll get back to it later that night because I'll see her text again. So that's the easiest way to do it for me.
Awesome.
Good deal. Everybody, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah. I was also going to say, my sister runs the apparel for me also. She does a great job with the website and the apparel and all that. But we have brand new shirts that are going to be here tomorrow. They'll be up on the website sometime later this week. If you want some new Benji Hicks swag, get on the website, get your order in. She'll take care of you. She'll get them shipped out to you. Or if you want to wait until you see us at Ultimate Motorsports Park at the end of this month, we'll have plenty there with us. And she'll probably come go through the trailer and do a clearance sale here soon. And usually we get rid of those. Sometimes they're $5 a piece, or sometimes she'll do 3 for $10. Just depends on what she's feeling that day. So make sure and check that out so we can move old apparel, get the new stuff put in there, and get some new Benji Hicks and double nickel swag in the trailer for the upcoming year.
On all your stuff, is the right side sleeve drug off of it?
It should be.
I mean, wouldn't that be awesome?
It should be. I think I'm going to
see everybody walking around the stands there with a big hole, or have the sleeve hanging off or ripped off. You look like Barney Rubble. You know,
yeah,
wouldn't that be super cool?
Yeah, maybe just tire mark.
Yeah. Or they got the Darlington stripe. We'll just put a red stripe across the right sleeve. People will know.
Keep it up, Benji. We're all watching.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.
Y'all have a great night.
For everybody listening, like, subscribe, all of the things, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Monday on the podcast. Thanks for watching.